I always knew there was something off about Max. Sure, all dogs have quirks, but Max was different. It wasn't just his intelligence or the way he seemed to understand every word I said. It was the way he would sit for hours, staring at the night sky with an intensity that was almost unnerving. Tonight, as he sat by the window, his eyes reflecting the cold, blue light of the moon, I couldn't shake the feeling that Max was waiting for something or someone. It was one of those clear nights when the stars seemed to sparkle a little brighter, and the air was crisp with the promise of secrets. Max's silhouette was stark against the window, his posture rigid, his eyes unblinking. I watched him for a while, my curiosity growing with every passing minute. What could possibly captivate him so much? As the minutes turned into hours, I finally approached him, my heart pounding in my chest. Max came into my life 2 years ago, a scruffy little stray I found rummaging through the garbage outside my apartment. I took him in, gave him a bath, and he never left. From the beginning, he was unlike any dog I'd ever known. He rarely barked, but when he did, it sounded almost like words. His eyes, a piercing shade of amber, seemed to hold a depth of understanding that went beyond any canine comprehension. There were days when I would come home to find Max sitting on the couch, seemingly engrossed in the nightly news. He would tilt his head, his ears perking up at certain words, as if he was not only listening but comprehending the information being broadcasted. It was both fascinating and eerie. Max was incredibly intelligent, too. He learned tricks in a fraction of the time it took other dogs. He knew how to open doors, fetch specific items, and even seemed to understand the concept of sarcasm. But it wasn't just his smarts that made him stand out. It was the way he carried himself, with a sort of regal bearing that seemed out of place for a mutt. His presence was commanding, almost as if he was used to being in charge, used to giving orders and having them followed. It started with small things. One night, I came home to find Max had rearranged the furniture in the living room. Not just pushed it around, completely rearranged it, in a way that actually made more sense for the space. It was as if he had an innate sense of design, an eye for aesthetics that surpassed my own. I stood there, staring at the room in disbelief, wondering how on earth a dog could have done this. Another time, I caught him watching a documentary about space exploration with an almost feverish intensity. He'd sit in front of the TV, his head tilted, ears perked, absorbing every detail. It was strange, almost as if he recognized the images, the technology, the vastness of the universe being displayed on the screen. Then there were the dreams. I began to have vivid, surreal dreams of starships and distant planets, always with Max by my side, not as a dog, but as an equal. In these dreams, he spoke to me, giving commands and strategizing like a seasoned military leader. I'd wake up in a cold sweat, only to find Max lying at the foot of my bed, his amber eyes watching me with a knowing glint. It was as if he knew what I had dreamt, as if he had been there with me in those strange, otherworldly places. The final straw came when I found a strange device buried in the backyard. It was small, metallic, and covered in alien symbols. Max stood beside me, his tail wagging as if to say, "You found it." I turned the device over in my hands, feeling a mixture of awe and dread. Max nudged my leg, urging me to activate it. One night, as I was drifting off to sleep, I heard a faint humming noise. I followed the sound to the living room, where I found Max sitting in the middle of the floor, the strange device from the backyard glowing in front of him. His eyes were locked on the device, and the symbols began to pulse with a rhythmic light. "Max, what's going on?" I whispered, my heart pounding. He looked up at me, and for the first time, I saw something in his eyes that I had never seen before. Recognition. Max stood up and placed a paw on the device, and suddenly, the room was filled with a blinding light. When the light faded, Max was no longer just a dog. He stood on two legs, his body surrounded by an ethereal glow. He looked at me, his eyes still the same, but now filled with an intensity that took my breath away. "I am Commander Zev of the Zarnathian fleet," he said, his voice resonating in my mind. "I have been stranded on this planet, waiting for the right moment to reveal myself. You have shown me kindness, and for that I am grateful. But now, my mission must continue." I stood there, stunned, as the reality of the situation sank in. My dog was an alien commander. All the strange behaviors, the intelligence, the dreams, it all made sense now. But what did this mean for us? Commander Zev, I began, trying to keep my voice steady. What happens now? He looked at me with those familiar amber eyes, now filled with a new sense of purpose. I must contact my fleet and return to my mission. But I will not abandon you. You have been my companion and ally. If you wish, you can join me. Join him? The idea was both thrilling and terrifying. What would that entail? Zev explained that he needed to repair his communication device to contact his fleet. Once he did, he could transport us both to his ship, where we would embark on a journey across the stars. It sounded like something out of a science fiction novel, but standing there, looking at my dog, no, my friend, I knew I couldn't let him go alone. Over the next few days, Zev and I worked together to repair the device. He guided me through the process, his knowledge of alien technology astounding. The more he taught me, the more I began to understand just how advanced his species was. We spent hours in the garage, tinkering with wires and circuits. Zev, patiently explaining every detail. One evening, as we took a break, I couldn't help but ask, "Why didn't you reveal yourself sooner?" Zev looked at me, his eyes thoughtful. "I needed to be sure of your intentions, your character. Trust is not easily given, especially on an unfamiliar world." His words made sense, but they also made me realize the gravity of the situation. This was no ordinary adventure. It was a mission that spanned galaxies, with stakes I couldn't even begin to comprehend. Yet, I felt a strange sense of calm. With Zev by my side, I was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Finally, the day came when the device was ready. As we stood in the backyard, the device humming with energy, I felt a mixture of excitement and sadness. This was it, the beginning of a new adventure and the end of our simple life together. "Are you ready?" Zev asked, his voice gentle in my mind. I nodded, taking a deep breath. "Let's do this." The device activated, and a beam of light enveloped us. As we were lifted into the air, I looked at Zev, and he looked back at me, his eyes filled with a warmth that transcended species and origins. We were more than just a human and his dog. We were friends, partners, and now, co-adventurers in the vast expanse of space. As the light transported us to the awaiting starship, I knew my life would never be the same. But with Zev by my side, I was ready for whatever came next. Together, we would explore new worlds, face unknown challenges, and forge a bond that was truly out of this world. And no matter what happened, I knew one thing for certain: I wouldn't trade this adventure for anything. Zev, my pet dog and alien commander, had become the most extraordinary part of my ordinary life. And as we set off into the stars, I couldn't wait to see where our journey would take us. Our arrival on the starship was met with a flurry of activity. The crew, a mix of various alien species, greeted us with a mix of curiosity and respect. They seemed to know Zev well, and their deference to him was unmistakable. It was clear that Zev was not just any commander, he was someone of great importance. The ship itself was a marvel of technology. Sleek and efficient, it hummed with the energy of advanced propulsion systems and state-of-the-art weaponry. Zev gave me a brief tour, his explanations making my head spin with the sheer complexity of it all. Yet, amidst the alien surroundings, there was a sense of familiarity, a reminder that I was no longer alone in this vast universe. In the days that followed, I settled into my new role aboard the starship. Zev and I worked closely together, our bond deepening as we faced one challenge after another. We encountered hostile alien species, navigated treacherous asteroid fields, and uncovered ancient mysteries hidden among the stars. Each adventure brought us closer, not just as commander and crew member, but as true partners. One evening, as we stood on the observation deck, staring out at the endless expanse of space, Zev turned to me and said, "You have adapted well, my friend. I knew you were special from the moment I met you." I smiled, feeling a warmth spread through me. "I couldn't have done it without you, Zev. You've shown me a world beyond my wildest dreams." Zev nodded, his eyes reflecting the stars. "And there is still so much more to see. Our journey has only just begun." As we stood there side by side, I realized that this was where I belonged. Not on Earth, living an ordinary life, but here, among the stars, with Zev and the crew. Together, we would continue to explore, to discover, and to forge a future that was as boundless as the universe itself. In the end, it wasn't just about the adventures or the challenges we faced. It was about the bond we shared, the unbreakable connection between a human and his extraordinary alien commander dog. And as we journeyed into the unknown, I knew that whatever lay ahead, we would face it together, united by our shared purpose and our unyielding friendship. Our story was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. And with Zev by my side, I was ready for whatever the stars had in store for us.